Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right. We're ranking Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo is a 2023 American biographical sports drama film based on Jan Mardenborough, a teenage Gran Turismo player who became a professional race car driver. Let's talk about the 10 essential aspects of the movie and how this movie surprised me. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Now, the story is based on a true story, so usually that's a pretty compelling, pretty interesting story. That's the case for this one. It's an interesting story, and it's told well. One thing I wish they would have done is implement more video footage of the actual real-life events. This is an auto racing. I understand they're not going to have videos of conversations and stuff like that, but a lot of their races, I'm sure that they have actual video of Mardenborough racing, and I wish they would have just tied that into the movie. I feel like that would have been a cool aspect to put some of those real videos into there. There's no real videos in this movie. That's okay. It just makes me question. I want to know what's real, what's not real. Otherwise, there's a good balance here between the actual racing aspect and the story. I felt they didn't do more of one or the other. I thought it was a really good balance. There's a lot of racing for someone like me who really enjoys racing. It kind of helps, that this plot is also more attractive because I enjoy racing already. I watch racing on my own personal time, so this is something that's attractive to me. And they also have the movie aspects, the personal aspects, the characters and the conversations. Those are really done well as well. The only really bad aspect of the plot is they integrated some of these bad characters, these evil characters that just so obviously didn't exist. They were so incredibly bad. There was no good part about them. They were just mean and awful the whole time, and that's just not realistic. And they really had no good motives for it. And it was just kind of bad writing. They just wanted to put a bad character as someone you root against. But honestly, the story I felt didn't even need it. It was good enough that you were just rooting for him driving against other racers. You don't need other racers who are bad, but I understand that they're just trying to make that dynamic. It just didn't go that well for me. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? Now, just depends on the person. I think if you don't like racing, it's still a good movie, and there's still some interesting parts of it. Unless you just despise cars, you don't care about them at all, you may not find it interesting. As someone who likes cars, I enjoy racing. I really enjoyed it. It was a good story. It was an interesting story. I was kind of surprised because I would say from the trailers, when the trailers were going on from this movie, it just didn't look that good. And it was one of those things where when a movie's advertised a bunch, I have found that it usually just kind of sucks and they're trying to make up for it in the marketing. This movie was kind of surprising. I thought if you like racing, you'll like this movie. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? Again, with these true stories, normally they do have a message or a truth because it's a real life situation and you can teach things out of real life situations. And that's usually the purpose of telling such an extraordinary story. It's no different in this case. This movie is, you can take a million things out of it. I think with the concept of the video game, the Gran Turismo video game, to applying to real life racing is more of a perseverance. And there's a lot of people doubting him throughout this movie. A lot of people saying he's not going to do it, and then he ends up doing it. And just understanding and having confidence in yourself and understanding that you are going to, people can do amazing things, extraordinary things from unlikely places. And the movie definitely hits on that quite a few times, and it's a good little message to put on. I will say I feel as though they applied this whole "you're not going to make it" a little too much in this movie, that to the point where it felt a little fake and like they were forcing it. Especially there's a crew member that keeps doing it that I just felt was really random and weird. So they do push the message a little much, but at the end of the day, it's still a good message. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? Yes, there is. There's moments. It goes up and down in this movie. I would say at the very beginning of the movie, the main character is on a phone call with a friend. It's not good. They don't really sound like friends. It sounds like a movie script. It kind of worried me in the beginning of watching this movie that the dialogue was going to be that way. throughout the entire movie. But as it went on, it got better. It was just, he had conversations with his coach that I felt were really good, and then he'd have conversations with somebody else that I felt were bad. So it's just kind of a mixed bag here. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? For the most part, the acting in this movie is just average. It's just regular. There's nothing bad, there's nothing good. There's only two people that really stood out to me. There's Archie Modekwe, who plays the main character. He does okay for pretty much the entire movie. And then he has one scene where he has to be extremely emotional, and he was very convincing. He does a great job. This is like his moment to shine, his little moment of greatness. I thought he portrayed somebody who was extremely upset very convincingly. Outside of that, he was just average. I would say David Harbour, who plays his coach in this movie, he's the best one by far. And it's really not even close. Like, you can tell. He's kind of points out all the flaws in everybody else's acting when he comes in. His character is so convincing. He delivers his lines with the right amount of emotion, and he keeps this demeanor about him throughout the whole movie that's really well done. I just feel whenever he is in a scene, he's the one you're focused on. He just did a really good job. It's kind of hard to say how good somebody did for acting without just saying he did a good job a million times. But if you watch this movie, you would understand what I'm saying, where he's just the only one you care about. Even though he's not the main character, he is the most convincing character throughout the entire movie. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? I would say the emotion in this movie it's fine. There's nothing hard hitting. Even though there were scenes that I thought were acted well, the character development didn't necessarily lead to me really caring that much. Outside of the emotion aspect, the visual aspect, I really enjoyed. That was what was really surprising to me. I thought the director did a good job of implementing this Gran Turismo game aspect into the story. And the visuals are really well done. It's cool. There's a lot of cool shots with some CGI effects that are done really well and help continue to propel and not let you forget that this story is about how this guy is a video game player and now he is racing real cars and how that makes him different. I would say I wish they developed a little bit more about how the video game aspect is what made him a good driver compared to the people who didn't play video games. But outside of that, the visual aspect was really impressive. I liked that quite a bit. I also enjoyed the sounds. Now, this kind of because I'm just a car guy. I really enjoy cars. But the sound design was awesome. All the cars sounded good. It sounded on point. It just like very satisfying. The cinematography overall in this movie, I would say, is better than your average movie. 7th is editing, and this is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 2 hours and 14 minutes long. It's a long movie. It's not necessarily too long of a movie. They have to go through a lot to tell the story, and it's okay. I would just say that they kind of dropped the ball a little bit just because they didn't make every part as interesting as it probably could have been. I wouldn't say I was dragged at 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was pretty much ready for the movie to be done, but for 2 hours and 15 minutes, you can really botch that. I would say they didn't botch it. I would say it probably would have been better at 2 hours, but it was fine at 2 hours and 15 minutes if it had just a little better execution throughout the entire movie, but it's not the end of the world. 8th is soundtrack. The soundtrack in this movie is forgettable. I don't even really remember it. 9th is directing. Now, the director is Neil Blomkamp. This is his 5th movie. His first movie was District 9, then Elysium, third was Chappie, then Demonic, and finally Gran Turismo. Now, I've only seen District 9 out of all those, but it seems like he's got a style going. Those first 3 movies they're very similar style. I would pretty much recognize based off the posters that those 3 movies are the same director. Demonic seems to be kind of a curveball, and I feel like Gran Turismo was a curveball to what he was originally started directing, and I feel he did a good job. This movie is a very average movie in a lot of places, with moments of greatness, with moments of style, such as the visuals, and moments of acting that elevate this movie. So it's just a little bit better than your average movie. I'd say it's a good job, and I'd be interested to see what else he's going to direct. 10th is Time. Does it stand the test of time? If I had to guess, if it was it's only a year old, but it's probably not going to stand the test of time. It's an okay movie, but it's nothing to stand out. It's going to be forgotten. People are going to forget this movie ever existed. Not because it's a bad movie, but just because within its genre, within the racing movie genre, there's a lot of good movies about racing, and there's a lot of movies that people are going to remember, and I just don't think that this is going to be one of them. Now for the ratings. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 65. The audience surprisingly gives it a 98, and IMDb gives it a 71. 98, I mean, I guess if you're a Gran Turismo fan, maybe this is something that just elevates it for you. I don't see, there's not a whole lot of flaws in this movie, nothing major, but when you're comparing it against some of the best movies of all time, 98, it ain't no 98. Between 65 and 71, I think I'm closer to that 71. I'd probably even be closer to a little bit to 75. This is like I said, it's an average movie with moments of greatness. So I would say an average movie is probably going to land in that 70 zone, and then I would give it a bump up just for the fact that it has a couple aspects of it that are great and not a lot of aspects to it that are bad. Finally, for the rankings. Now, this is the first movie I've done in the year of 2023, so it's going to be first in both entertainment and cinematography. For the decade of the 2020s, on the entertainment side, I have it out of 13, 6 just below Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and above Twisters. Now, I have it above Twisters. They're fairly similar. They're both movies that I would watch again. I would say this ranking is really just more of my personal taste. I enjoy racing. I enjoy racing movies in some sense. I enjoy video games. So it's a nice little blend of what I enjoy, and it was a nice little heartwarming story to watch. Twisters is just a good time to watch some, tornadoes and destruction. So this one's kind of a toss-up. I just put it above just for my love of the cars, kind of puts it above a little bit of just a destruction movie in Twisters. Now I have it below Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes just because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes it's helped for me by the previous movies and the world that it lives in. There's a lot of stories being told behind the stories. You're watching a movie, you're watching this story unveil, but the world is so interesting that you're almost seeing other stories play out in the background and the setting of this world, and the small stories being told throughout the main story that make it so interesting. That's what pulls me back to it. I love the visuals. That stuff just puts it a little bit above Gran Turismo for me. For cinematography, out of 13 total movies, I've got it 4th, just below Trap and above Deadpool and Wolverine. It's honestly not even that close between Deadpool and Wolverine and this movie, just because the only thing pulling for Deadpool and Wolverine is the depth of the world, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's a lot going on, and I kind of put it there almost in a sympathy as well, because there's a lot deeper things going on and references to this world that I didn't even understand because I'm not a Marvel guy. And so that's all it's got going for it. But Gran Turismo, I will say, does have moments where you feel the emotion. I would say there's 1 or 2 scenes that are really well done that help you feel that emotion, and then it's also got an interesting visual side to it. So cinematically, it's got a couple things going for it, where Deadpool and Wolverine is just that depth of the world behind the movie. Now it's below Trap just because I felt Trap had me on the edge of my seat. It had me feeling those feelings of anticipation and curiosity, wondering what's going to happen next, and psychologically analyzing this character. It had me doing that the entire movie. That's something that Gran Turismo doesn't do. There's only moments in this movie that really had me thinking, had me feeling emotion. But Trap, I would say, for the most part, all the movie had me on the edge of my seat. For all-time entertainment side, out of 19 total movies, I have it 11th. Again, just below Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and above Twisters. It's the exact same reason for both sides. It's the exact same reason for both movies, so I'm not going to dive back into that. For cinematography, out of 19 total movies, I have it 7th, just below The Mist and above Deadpool and Wolverine. It's above for the same reasons as earlier. It's below The Mist, just that character development in The Mist, that just, along with the visuals, they both have good visuals, but the character development is what I really enjoy about The Mist and puts it over Gran Turismo. I mean, the evil lady in The Mist, gosh, I hate her guts. I create some strong feelings about the characters and how they interact in that movie. It dives into fear really well. Those are aspects of the movie that I thought it just did better several times over than Gran Turismo. It just represents film better. I feel like it taps into those emotions and creativity better than Gran Turismo did. That's all I've got for Gran Turismo. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see what else I'm going to be reviewing. Make sure you comment what movie you want me to see next. Make sure you comment what you thought about the movie. I'd love to hear your opinion on where it ranks. Maybe you think it should be above or below where I put it. That's all I've got. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.